next up we've got a few balloons here actually. One of them is tied onto my ring stand already. And so what do you think this balloon is filled with? I'll give you a hint. It's lighter than air. That's why I actually had to tie it down. It's lighter than most of the air in here. And so typically balloons like what you see at a clown show or hot air balloon are filled with helium. Helium is a very, very light gas. In the past, when helium became too expensive, actually in the 1930s, during the Great Depression and the subsequent World Wars, so pretty rough time in history, but people were making balloons to fly around in, actually huge blimps at that time. When helium was expensive, people started to use hydrogen. Hydrogen is also very light. It's actually the same, almost same weight as helium. And so this is a hydrogen balloon. Okay? The reason we don't use hydrogen balloons, and it's not smart, we're going to actually explore here in this chemical reaction, in this demonstration. Okay? And so one last bit of history. Maybe you've heard of the blimp, the Hindenburg. It's a famous blimp from that era, again, the 1930s. And it's famous because it went down in flames. There was a spark near the Hindenburg. It was a hydrogen balloon. And in this demonstration, we're going to see what happens to a hydrogen balloon when there's a spark. Okay. Back on. So that was our first balloon, a hydrogen balloon. And you can see, like the Hindenburg, it went up in flames. And so, the reason that this happens is that hydrogen plus oxygen, which is in this room all the time, again, oxygen that we breathe, react to make water and another thing, water plus heat. This is called combustion. For any fire, you need three things: fuel, hydrogen in this case. You always need oxygen, and they can react to make water and heat. And so when you burn wood in your fireplace, the wood is the fuel. When you burn gasoline in a car, the gasoline is the fuel. And so you need these two things plus a spark, a heat source to get it started. In this case, the match I lit. Okay? And so this is what's happening. We have hydrogen and oxygen plus a spark. We get combustion. And so, I've got a couple other balloons here. One of them is here. I'm going to tie it up. Just give me a second. I guess that's fine. Okay. And so this is the same balloon. It's a different color, but the same exact balloon from the same pack. But instead of having hydrogen gas, it has oxygen gas in it. And so it has O2 inside. One of the three things we need for combustion, for an explosion or a fire. And so I'm going to provide the spark. See what happens. Okay, so that was quite different, right? With the hydrogen balloon, you saw fire, inferno, an explosion. It was pretty violent. With the oxygen balloon, by comparison, it popped. That's because the rubber doesn't like fire. The balloon popped because a hole got burned in it, but there wasn't an explosion, right? There was no flame. The reason for that is that you didn't really have fuel. There's a little bit of hydrogen in this room, and so probably helps a little bit, but you don't have the hydrogen as you did with the balloon. And so we were missing the fuel, just had oxygen plus a spark, okay? And so for the third option that we have here, potentially guess what this is going to be. This is a mixture of the two, hydrogen and oxygen. The the big finale for the balloons. And see what happens here. For this one in particular, if you don't like loud noises, mute your computer or turn it way, way down. You can see here, I'm putting in some earplugs. That's because I'm going to be right next to it, and I don't have the option of turning my mic down. So I've got my earplugs in. I sound really strange to myself, as you always do with earplugs in. For this one, I'm going to stand over here, keeping the suspense going. Always fun. Okay, so that was a much louder bang, much more flame than the first time. Actually, kind of rocketed around a little bit, which was kind of crazy. And so what's going on here is that in this balloon, you've got everything you need: hydrogen, oxygen, plus the spark I lit with the match. And these are mixed together already inside the balloon. And so in the first explosion, the hydrogen had to go looking for oxygen outside the balloon for the ignition to occur. Whereas in this case, they're all together, and so you get a much larger explosion. And so the hydrogen-oxygen balloon creates that big boom, loud noise. And so again, these are used in movies for special effects, loud noises, explosions. People use hydrogen and oxygen balloons or gas mixtures all the time.